How's it going, everybody? Good morning. Welcome back to Freedom Uncensored. Today is Hot Take Tuesday. So yeah, welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. I think you guys can hear everything properly. Yesterday I was having some weird technical issues, so it cut out for a while, and then it was weird. I started ranting off for like half an hour, and I got bothered by it. I don't get why I can't fix my green screen any more than I already have. Like, the light comes and it blurs all of this out. It's weird. Um, but yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much for following on Instagram at Freedom Uncensored. Thank you for checking us out on Twitter, Freedom. What is it? Freedom U slash online, TikTok Freedom Uncensored, and YouTube Freedom Uncensored. So yeah, with that, make sure to go check out the new post on Instagram. I've been uploading clips and also potentially and hopefully a merch launch for next year or in the winter, depending if you guys like the hoodies and the beanies. These are just the simplified designs with the logo, and then of course we'll have more law enforcement stuff, military appreciation stuff, and winter Christmas designs. So with that, yesterday it was LA Monday. We talked about Karen Bass and her administration, the issues that they are facing, the problems with her deputy mayors, and the terrible mistake that she did firing the LAFD fire chief, or former fire chief, Chris Crowley, during the Palisades fire. That was terrible. And yeah, this morning also I had a little bit of camera technical difficulty issues. Something's up. For sure the Democrats are at it again, trying to cancel me. My light wouldn't turn on, my other light wouldn't turn on, my green screen was being funny, and then when I finally set everything up, my camera wouldn't connect to be my camera, so that was weird. Anyways, today is Hot Take Tuesday, so make sure you go and get your morning coffee. I can't live without coffee. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to leave a follow, a like, share with your Republican, conservative, American friends, whoever's out there that needs a change of mind. My hair is being weird. I don't get why it does that. It's super annoying sometimes. I need to fix it or something. I don't know. I look like a hobo. You know what? I have an idea. Now my hair's under control. I don't know what to say. It looks better now. I mean, it doesn't look better, but it's not weird as it was. But yeah, today is Hot Take Tuesday. We can talk about immigration, free speech, social media censorship, Gen Z issues, the economy, American culture. I keep losing my voice. It's part of the medicine I've been taking for the post-car crash incident. So a lot of things that people have been saying is that Gen Z deserves a country that tells the truth, and I want to know, you guys leave a comment on this Instagram or TikTok reel. Because of course I do clip it and then upload it. What's a topic you want a uncensored take on? So what's something you feel that the media is biased on? If you look at LA Times is one of the most biased liberal media sources out there. So that's why when LA Times reached out to Fox and said, don't do a report on the prostitution you guys are having in LA, Fox said, why not? And LA Times said, because our mayoral candidate Austin Butner is out there and we don't want to mess around with that. So then, of course, LA Times paid off Fox. And then New York Times did a report on the prostitution in LA. Why is New York doing a report and a paper on the prostitution of LA? Because LA paid off every social media company to not disclose the prostitution we have in downtown LA, so Austin Butner could have a better image where his own newsletter isn't bashing it. Because if we look back on history, Austin Butner did used to be the CEO and the chairman and the guy running the show at LA Times. So of course LA Times is an insanely terrible, thrown away newspaper, left side, left wing, leftist, liberal, democratic, cover up newspaper. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't want to talk more about Austin Butner. He's an old guy. He doesn't really have anything to show for. Austin Butner is just wasting everybody's time. He's trying to put his name out there again. He's always saying, "Oh, my house got burned down." While the Palisades, yeah, well, it's also Austin Butner's own fault. Um, he should have done a sprinkling system. I don't know who told him that his house was in perfect condition. And then let's talk today about Gen Z is being more conservative than ever. We've seen it. We're seeing it on social media. We're seeing it on TikTok. We're seeing it on Fox. And if we're not seeing it on Fox, we're seeing it on CNN. We're seeing it on ABC. We're seeing it on KLCS. We're seeing all the way into the Australian Broadcasting News Channel. Um, there's no denying it. Gen Z feels that the conservative side is more appealing to them because we know how to answer questions. If you tell a leftist what is a woman, what is a woman? They can't answer that. Not even using basic science, not even using basic mental terms. They can't. And it's ridiculous. My hat didn't land, but it's ridiculous that they can't tell me a woman is somebody of XX, XX, and sometimes Y chromosomes. And they can't tell me a woman is somebody who can give birth and a man is somebody who can't. A woman is somebody who is a caregiver out of respect or out of, I don't know, common norms, and a man is somebody who provides for the family. Not one answer. I'm looking for anything. I'm looking for anything that says just a single definition, and they can't do that. They can't tell me, oh, it's just this and that. They can't just tell me a woman is somebody who cared for me while my dad was at work. They can't tell me a woman is somebody who raised me while my dad was financially supporting us. A woman is somebody who, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit sexist, but it's the truth. A woman is somebody who made the meal at home while my dad was coming back from work. It's simple, it's a nice answer. It's just a clarification for, oh, I didn't realize my mom was a woman or my dad was a man. I'm looking for anything at this point. But they can't. They can't even use basic science. If you go into a science classroom right now and you ask them what is a woman, they tell you, well, although a woman might be scientifically said and told to be an XX human being identified by those certain chromosomes, they tell you at the end of the day, a woman can be whoever wants to be a woman. That's not a scientific based answer. That's just saying I went to learn science at a college for no reason and to tell you guys a lie at the end of the day. So I can't do that. I want to know why we can't go back to when we knew a woman was somebody who could give birth and a man can't. That's simply the truth. That's facts. And that's what a woman is. And now people might say, oh, well, a man can give birth if you do them a little operation. You do them a cut here, you put a little balloon bag in there, and then bada bing, bada boom. Now they can give birth, but that's not sane. That's not proper. That's not human. That's some scientific, disgusting, mortifying operation. Um, it's inhumane. So going back to Gen Z being more conservative than ever, surveys indicate a noticeable conservative shift among the youngest cohort of Gen Z. So this is talking back to your younger siblings, younger brothers and sisters, and nephew and nieces. This is in that five. And you know what? Liberals and Democrats are saying, oh, it's not true, it's not facts, because an 8-year-old doesn't know if he's conservative or not. A 10-year-old doesn't know if they're Republican or not. And a 12-year-old doesn't know if they want to support Trump or not. But you're letting 8, 10, and 12-year-olds have transgender surgeries. So They're not capable enough to say, "Oh, I don't really like the left, so I'm gonna lean more conservative." But they're capable enough to say, "Oh, I don't feel like a man. Let me change my body and have a physical surgery that changes me into a woman." That doesn't seem very logical to me. It's not common sense. So recent polls reveal that Americans age, or you know what? Let's keep it from adults to mature, right? So that way the leftists don't clip this and say, "Oh, it's another conservative saying that younger age kids are his audience." No. So recent polling reveals that Americans age 18 through 21 now lean Republican by about 12 points, whereas those in their late 20s still lean Democrat. In fact, a Yale Youth poll found 18 through 21-year-olds preferred Republicans by an 11.7 point margin, while 22 through 29-year-olds leaned Democrat by 6.4 points. A striking generational gap. Gen Z's rightward tilt showed up in 2024's election. Youth support for the GOP candidate was the strongest since 2008, as Gen Z favored Harris over Trump, which is not a lie. Most Gen Z people, 20 through 29, did favor Harris. We can't deny the facts. By only, by only though, 4 points versus a 25-point Biden margin in 2020. Other data confirm this pattern. A Gallup study found 14% of Gen Z teens identify as more conservative than their parents, double the share of millennial teens who said that 20-year-olds prior. And in the 2020 elections, white males Gen Z voters chose Trump at higher rates than even white baby boomers. The bottom line, more so than millennials or Gen X at the same age, this marks a break with expectations and suggests Gen Z is indeed more conservative than the recent generations. And I asked myself why. I asked myself, what's going on? Why? Oh my gosh, what is going on with my hair? I'm gonna have to cut it out or something. Jeez. I don't even like the hat. It's so annoying. Jeez, what am I gonna have to do? You know what? Can't even see my eyes when I do that. Let me see this real quick. Can I copy and paste it there? Oh yeah, I can. Awesome. Let me move this here. Let me move that there. I don't think these have audio. Perfect. Awesome. Well, going on commercial break. This hat from the Dodgers has my name stitched on and everything, but it doesn't feel like I can wear it on the show. It doesn't feel like it can hold my hair, or when I go out, it really represents who I am. Usually I wear my American flag pin, but it just doesn't feel like I can with that hat. And I think you can still probably hear me if I do the switch. Boom! Check it out. Freedom Uncensored merch. This is what I've kind of been working on. Some ideas here and there. I don't know what you guys think about it. I like it. I think it's pretty fresh. It's just the Freedom Uncensored logo on a black hat. Of course, I'll be thinking about doing a gray hat, a white hat, a red hat, and a blue hat. The blue will be mainly like a navy color like the design is, and the red will probably also be a mix. I don't want to do a full red hat, but if I do, I'll keep it something Ferrari color or red and white. I'm not too sure yet. That's the hat idea. And then we have the shirt and the hoodie. So of course the black hoodie will be fresh, and the white shirt as well. It'll have the logo, and then The shirts will come in black, white, and navy blue. Maybe a red if you guys like it. The hoodies, of course, will be black, white, and maybe red. I'm not sure yet. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I think the designs are pretty cool. I like it. And yeah. So let's see if I can adjust this real quick. I wish I could have my camera a little bit higher. Because it's cutting there. But yeah. I don't know. I like it. I don't know how you guys feel about it. There's so many emails coming in. Talking on other stuff. We were gonna have a CSUN chapter turning point event together, but then I guess Cal State Northridge was having some issues. They didn't want to let them, and it just became a hassle for them. Of course, I didn't want to keep pushing. I told them if they needed anything, of course, to reach out. Um, but yeah, universities are starting to censor Turning Point, and it's like, okay, so Turning Point isn't some mafia. Turning Point isn't some gang. It's just a chapter at this point. It's an American centered chapter, and sure, Turning Point was one of the largest movement that led to Gen Z voting more conservative towards Donald Trump. Turning Point did do that shift, demonstrating that people in under the Kamala Harris campaign didn't know what they were talking about. They just voted for her because she was one, a woman, and two, she was a Democrat. Of course, Kamala Harris never said she was a socialist, but it seemed like her ideas were. And hopefully, I'm not muted, right? No, I'm not muted. Yesterday we had that insane problem. Um, but yeah, Kamala Harris, if you asked her people on the campaign, her supporters and everything, what is Kamala Harris's plan to affordability, to having a higher GDP, to bringing in more international tourism, to lower housing, more affordable groceries? Nobody under Kamala Harris knew how to answer that. They just said, "Why do you want to vote for Kamala Harris?" Because she wants to do this and that, and she's an LGBTQ123 supporter, and she is for us, and she's funny, and the vibes. And I was like, "What vibes?" She looks more fake than, I don't know, some other people like Obama, or she looks more fake than Gavin Newsom, or more fake than somebody who's been on TV. I don't know. I don't have any names on mind right now. Um, no offense, but Kamala Harris seems crazier than Candace Owens. And Candace is another thing. I respect Candace. I love Candace. Candace is amazing, and her show is for sure indulging. But sometimes she goes off the rails. There's no denying it. Candace Owens, when she starts, you can't ask those questions. It's insane. It's scary. I wouldn't put that on my big screen. I can hardly see that on my iPhone. Um, but yeah, going back to Kamala Harris, she didn't know how to answer stuff. She didn't know what she was doing. I think she wrote her books 90 days or something. I think it was probably less than 90 days. I don't remember quite the number. Of course, it was a short campaign that she had to do once the Joe Biden administration pulled out and they replaced her. I don't think either that the Biden administration wanted to pick Kamala because they knew that she didn't have a plan, especially since she had already been vice president. Um, and Kamala started saying, "Oh, we're gonna help out unregistered citizens, undocumented residents. We're gonna make it easier to come across the border." One, they did make it easier to come across the border because they just opened the border and took away border patrol, and they looked the other way when citizens started complaining about the illegal immigrants taking away their apartments, taking away their jack cars, taking away their food at grocery stores. what are you doing? Why are you letting millions of undocumented people come across without having a registry on them, who they are, or putting even personal laws or housing laws on them? Because I don't think it's humane to have 25 people from 5 families in one apartment with only 2 bedrooms. That's insane. A 2 bedroom apartment that's like what? Less than 500 feet squared with 25 people in it? That's insane. Um, it's crazy. So that was number one. Number two, they started giving away food stamps and EBT like it was leaves off of a tree. They started going bam, 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 bam. And then everybody was like, okay, hello, my groceries are still insanely freaking expensive, and you're giving away these illegal immigrants, illegal border hoppers food stamps? Where's my benefit? I'm an American citizen. I went to college. I have a family. Why can't you give me some of those, not maybe food stamps, but deductibles or tax breaks? Because I'm doing more for the country than they are. And number three, you could have given them all American citizenships. You could have given them green cards. You could have give them social security numbers. So at the end of the year or during the, tax season, they said, you know what, government, thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much for taking us in. I worked, I did my job. I went and cut your grass. I went and built your house. I went and did your electricity, your plumbing. I put my kids in your schools. I don't know. I came as a prepared doctor, professional, teacher, administrator in my country, and I came to yours and I took a position with the same profession. Thank you for the opportunity for having me. Let me give you my taxes. Let me support your economy. Let me help your society. But no, they let them run free. Those people came over, got paid, sent their money back to their countries, built their houses, bought some land, and they flew back. They flew back to their country, and then, even then, the Biden administration said, "Oh, you're leaving us? Well, we hope you had a safe flight. Here's $5,000 and a free flight back to Guatemala, back to El Salvador, back to Argentina." They didn't charge them anything, and then they're arguing that the economy is going down and blaming Trump for that. Trump had a insanely broken down United States, and his mission was to come in and fix it. Donald Trump came and said, "You guys aren't realizing how bad you're going to leave the economy, how low you're going to leave the gas percentage, how high the gas value is going to go. You're not realizing any of this. So I have to go in and fix it before it's too late." And then JD Vance said, "I am pro citizens. I am pro immigrant work when it's legal. And I am pro supporting our communities." So what did Trump do? He picked JD Vance to be his vice president. Donald Trump came in with a strong message saying, "You're putting immigrants first and Americans second." And that's why a lot of Gen Z, a lot of people realized, why are they putting all these immigrants before me? I was born here. I lived here my whole life. I have done nothing but supported this country, worked in this country, and the Biden administration has done nothing for me. That was the realization, I believe, when a lot of those Biden voters, a lot of those Kamala camel toe supporters realized this administration ain't doing it for me. Kamala won't be doing it for me. Let's start to lean right. And they voted for Trump. Of course, like any election, of course, like anything that happens in society, some voters feel betrayed. Some voters feel like, oh, Trump isn't doing enough for me now. And you're right. Maybe Trump isn't prioritizing Americans in certain sections, but it's not in all sections. Let me give you an example with the HB1 visas, with the F1 visas, with the M1 visas. All these visas are for international students, international families, international workers. And I respect it. And I respect it. Why? Because if you have a good, amazing worker at one company, and this is your company, this is your enemy's company, or your competition's company. You have two companies now. This guy has an amazing worker, somebody who is there every day, 9 to 5, providing the best of himself and goes on and beyond of his own work. Of course, you want that guy. Of course, that guy would be benefit to you. So, HB1 visas, F1 visas, M1 visas, all these visas, they're not bad if you're taking good, hardworking people with a good resume and a good rep, and their reputation stands for themselves, and you're putting them into the United States. That only helps us. That's a benefit for us. But when you're giving out visas to single mom families who their whole life have done anything, didn't have a high school degree, didn't have a college degree, never worked in their life, and depend on their husband's military subsidies from their own country, why would you take them in if their country's already providing it for them? Why would you take them in if their country's already paying them to have whatever they're enjoying over there? It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not for it. Um, but yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. And I think a lot of people also realized during the Biden administration, a lot of people don't realize how manipulated the networks were, how manipulated news channels were. If you looked at news channels, it was hard to really work in those areas and work in those fields of journalism because a lot of journalists, a lot of news reporters wanted to say the truth, wanted to say, hey, the Biden administration is allowing all these immigrants to come in, but we can't say that because the government said, oh, don't say that. Oh, keep your mouths hushed up. And then a lot of news reporters got fired because the government started coming after them. Of course, my boy Jesse Walters wasn't fired because he's a goat. And of course, my people at Good Day LA and Fox 11 News didn't get fired because they're awesome. Um, but a lot of people started to get fired. A lot of people started getting called out on embezzlement. Why? Because the government started selling them out. It was until the end of their administration when CNN, when ABC, when KLCS, when all these left wing news channels started saying in the last month, in April, in May, in July, and June, we have had the highest immigrant numbers come into our country unregistered with an open border. And that was like, wait a minute, that is true because I have noticed it that there's more immigrant kids in my school. There is more immigrant people in my communities. There are more Hispanic, Spanish, or native language speaking people in my city. When did all these people come here? You're right. All these people are starting to appear out of nowhere. And the media couldn't say any of that because the Biden administration was preventing them from talking. So then during that crisis, the Biden administration said, we're not keeping an open border. We know what we're doing. All these people came in legally. And that was the biggest lie, the biggest scam of society. You know how much it costs one American citizen per person that comes in illegally? It's costing an American citizen about $250,000 a year to provide for their family, and the illegal family that came in without them knowing it. Why? Because their taxes are higher, their groceries are higher, their essentials are higher, their student supplies start being higher, and more schools start charging families and students without them noticing it. It's insane. Especially it starts costing the city more. Why? Because now they have to provide more school supplies for these immigrant families. They have to provide more food stamps, more EBTs, more everything. If you go into a food bank, there's more illegal families or immigrant families at food banks than there used to be homeless. Not even the homeless people want to go anymore because they feel scared to be around so many Spanish speaking families, so many Puerto Rican families, so many Latin American families. And sometimes it's not just Latin America, okay? Let's take a break from Latin America. How many Armenians, how many Iraqis, how many people from Bangladesh, how many people from Germany, Norway, Russia, how many people from there also came in during the open border season? That was insane. How many Egyptians, Syrians, so many people came into this country from all over the world and just took advantage of it. We have so many Ukrainians, so many Russians that came in here. It got insane. So many Dominican Republicans, people from IT. It was an insane season. And we don't have that many supplies as a country to provide for all these families. We don't have the essentials for all these families. Where are all those families going to stay when they come in with no money? How are they going to get an apartment? They can't. Our homeless numbers went up in millions and millions. In cities, they were up by thousands. And a lot of people started to say, my car got jacked. My RV got jacked. I had this tent in the trash, it got jacked. I had this storage unit, stuff got jacked. What I mean by jacked, I mean robbed. So if catch on with me, you know? Um, and then these well at the time homeless people, now all these immigrant families started coming in here. They started taking cars, they started taking RVs, they started taking trolleys, they started taking essentials from people's houses. They started coming in and stealing. And it got insane to where they started setting camp. They started setting bases of operation. That's what I'm gonna call them, bases of operation, because they came in, they set camp. They said to their other fellow immigrant families from the caravans, hey, I have an awesome spot here at the park. Come join me. And then what do we start seeing? Instead of seeing homeless people on the streets like we used to of LA, on the streets of New York, on the streets of Chicago, we started seeing them set camp in public parks, in public spots. We started seeing them set camp in Echo Park. We started seeing them set camp throughout the Chicago Riverlands. We started seeing them set camp in Central Park. That was disgusting. Why would I want to take my family? Why would I want to live anymore in New York? Why would I want to take the subway up to Central Park when all I see is tents everywhere? This is where I give prop to Mayor Eric Adams, although he wasn't involved with the Turkish embezzlement scam and all this and that. Um, I give him respects because what did he say? No camping in Central Park. New York has done an amazing job of keeping Central Park clean and without homeless people and secured. Sure, maybe here and there you might see a homeless person, but it's not as bad as in other cities. And in New York, the only issue I face every single time I've been there, every single time I go, or when I used to live there, New York has an insanely high number of Jewish people. Maybe because they're in business, maybe because they work on Wall Street, maybe because that's how they move and organize, and it's cheaper to get a flight from New York all the way to the motherland in Israel when they do their whole pilgrimage. But even then, New York City has a cleaner setting when it comes to homelessness in public areas. Of course, homelessness is insane in New York, but they do a better job at having subsidized housing and having what is it, 8 block. Um, that's I give them props for. But Chicago, Texas, Illinois, Michigan, California, they're failing and falling behind when it comes to homeless numbers. They don't know what to do. They're falling way more behind than they're falling behind on AI and technology. It's insane. So the Biden administration didn't have an answer for all of this. The Biden administration said, we're going to fix homelessness and we're going to drop down the numbers by a huge percentage. Who sounds like that? The only person who sounds like we're going to drop the homeless numbers by a huge percent is Donald J. Trump. And they realized Trump was right. Trump knew and had a plan, but they couldn't say the plan because they would start sounding like him. So they started using audio dialects to sound like him without saying they were gonna copy his own plan. It was a disaster, honestly. It was terrible. I have the team letting me know about the stories going on right now. It's a lot of stuff, honestly. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, though. Thanks so much for being one of the few viewers. I love your support. I love you guys, and thank you for being here. In the meantime, make sure to check out Freedom Uncensored at no, it's on Instagram. Um, I'm just checking in to see if we have any Q&A questions. People coming in here, no, but yeah, it's a lot. Billionaire Stephen Klobeck dropping out of race for California governor to endorse Eric Swalwell, as he should. Even then, I don't even like Eric Swalwell. He has all this money. He doesn't know what he's doing. That's why I'm voting for Chad Bianco. Anyways, how is everybody's Tuesday going? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing splendid, splendid, and I hope you share, follow, comment, like, and make sure to as. Why does my hair keep doing this? I make sure to grab your cup of coffee because coffee is still the American thing you can drink every morning without getting canceled for it. You know, the other day I did go into a coffee shop. I'm not gonna say which one, but I did go into a coffee shop. I think I got just a latte. It wasn't even anything special. Um, it was just a regular simple latte, and I didn't even realize. I I went in. I bought my coffee like anyone does, and this doesn't look any better. Damn. And it didn't land. Gee Willikers. Hmm. Oh, back to my story. I went into a coffee shop, I got my coffee, I went back out. The second I went out to get into my truck, I started hearing, um, let the kids live, let the kids live. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? I don't have kids in my basement. And then I realized it was a protest because they were trying to cancel the coffee shop and trying to close down the coffee shop because they were saying that kids were providing the coffee beans and grabbing the coffee beans all the way in the jungle and bringing the coffee beans illegally and transporting them in child trafficking with the coffee beans into America. And I was like, that's not true because my coffee is American made, so all my coffee beans are here. Of course, it's not true. The best coffee is probably from Saudi Arabia, and or my favorite coffee is Colombian coffee. It's so good. And then they were yelling at me because they were like, "What are you doing supporting a small business that grabs its coffee beans from indigenous tribes and they have child labor because the children are the ones picking the coffee beans?" And I told them that's not true. What I'm doing here is supporting a small business. How is a small business gonna have kids in other countries picking coffee beans if they don't even have the amounts of money required to pay their bills? They're relying on checks on a monthly basis. And I was like, you guys need to cut it out. I don't even know what you guys are doing. But on that note, I'm gonna go refill my coffee. Welcome back to America's favorite morning show, Freedom Uncensored. Thanks so much for everybody that tuned in. Thanks so much for following, giving a like to the video, commenting, and sharing. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Freedom Uncensored, TikTok at Freedom Uncensored, Twitter Freedom U/online, and Instagram Freedom Uncensored. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you also give a like and subscribe onto YouTube, where the live streams are compressed into smaller videos. Um, but yeah, going back to today's hot take, Gen Z is more conservative than ever. Um, I went to a Young Democrats Los Angeles County event, and I realized that they're more racist than Republicans. Now, let me tell you why, okay? They had a display on. They had like a show, okay? They were like, let's do a dance for immigrants and let's do a dance in honoring those who have been deported by Trump's ICE raids. And that's how they said it. And I said, okay, maybe they will have something nice, something beautiful, a little cultural dance of these people's countries. And by these people, I mean the Hispanic and Latin communities. Because Democrats, they don't think about immigrants as, or they don't think about illegal people as white people. They don't put into consideration all the Russians, all the Ukrainians. They don't put into consideration all the people from IT, all the people from South Africa. When Democrats talk about protecting illegal rights, they only talk about people from Latin America. It's racist. Um, if you think about it, it's insanely racist. And I thought they were gonna put something cultural like that. But no, they turn on the music, these girls come out, and they're young females. They're for sure freshman, sophomore, junior college girls. And what do? They start twirling and spinning to a song by what's her name? Oof, I forget the one that was with Kamala Harris in the campaign. It wasn't Cardi B. Cardi B was doing an awesome press speech the other day for Donald Trump. Megan Thee Stallion, there we go. So they're doing a dance to a song by Megan Thee Stallion. Um, I think it was, I'm not sure, and I don't remember. I don't know if it was WAP or not. Am I blurry again? Why do I keep going out of focus? Um, but yeah, they started doing a dance to WAP, and I'll move this one here. It's blinding me. And they start throwing it back. They start twerking on everybody. They start dancing and hip hopping and dropping it down to the floor. And they weren't in revealing clothes or anything, so I was like, it's fine. It's just dancing. Until I guess it was in the choreography. I forget the term of it. I forget how to pronounce it. I know the name. I used to dance, but they take their top off. They take their skirt off. Now they're in booty shorts. Now they're in a crop top smaller than their bras. And the song pauses and goes, immigration. And they all just turn back and throw it on everybody and start shaking buns everywhere, and the song keeps going, and then they're like, special announcement, if you haven't done so, check under your seats because we put flags of all the countries we're representing tonight, and it's like Argentina, Mexico, Guatemala, Salvador, and I'm like, this dance doesn't represent any of them. If anything, this dance represents the black community's hip hop culture. So, one, it's inappropriate, and two, it's racist. And I was like, wow, these Democrats don't know, one, to give respect to these people, because at the end of the day, any person here in this country is a person, and in their country they're a person and they're a human being. These human beings respect as much respect as any other person that has ever lived. And two, this dance doesn't do anything. This dance is just them deciding to throw it back on everybody. And then they were like, wow, let's give a round of applause to our fallen community and to our powerful dance. And I was like, there's nothing powerful about this dance. It's just twerking. And it was bad, dude. I swear it was irritating. But then I went to this other event because I guess part of my job is to be open with everybody. Let me put you guys on a quick little hiatus here. Don't go, I'm back already. I don't know, I have so many things going on. It's insane. Lawyers and it's insane. Um but yeah, these Democrats with their dancing and liberals, I was like, oh my nose. I'm not on no white powder, I swear. They're racist. They're more racist than most conservatives and more Republicans and most people that are American. I was like, this is fondue. This is boggles. This is, I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's insane. And then these conservatives, I went to a Republican event because it's part of my job. I need to indulge with every community. And it doesn't matter if you're Democratic or Republican or conservative or liberal. Part of my job is to represent you, to be there for you, support you, and care about you because you are a human being. And I'm not going to tell you all my jobs, but if you check at Instagram at the Trinidad Company, you'll realize I do have a venture capitalist frame with about 10 or 12 startup companies. Anyways, going back to this, the Republicans were like, let's take a moment to breathe. We know that times have been tough. Let's settle in and give thanks to God in a prayer to begin our event. They did the prayer, it was nice. And then they said calmly, let's talk about immigration and the flaws that our president has been having currently with the country. They didn't bash Trump. They didn't either bow down to him. They didn't say this is a perfect country. They acknowledged that America isn't what it used to be, acknowledged that our president is not to what he said he was, or it's not to what we voted for. And they said, let's do it right. Let's talk about what we can do as a community and as a society. And that's another issue too. Democrats are too eager to say, "Oh, Trump isn't our president. Oh, you can't force us to like him. Oh, Trump isn't the America we want." And okay, fine. You didn't vote for the guy. You might not like the guy. You might not agree with the guy's ideas, but at the end of the day, he is your president because you are in America. You are an American citizen. You are living in America. And if you don't want to say Trump is your president, and if you don't want to acknowledge that, and if you don't want to say, "Oh, I'm not living in the America that is Trump's America," and you don't like that idea, then get out. Go to another country. Because guess what? America is the only country where if you come here, you put in the effort, you represent yourself, and you do things legally and properly as how it is supposed to be under the law, anybody can be an American citizen. But not anybody can be a citizen in any other country or any other part in the world. So guess what? It's on you, not on us. And the Republican community started saying, let's start doing a bill. Let's do a proposition. Let's see what we are seeing. Yes, many of us come from immigrant families, immigrant communities. Our parents are immigrants, and it is affecting us too. Also, many immigrants are hardworking, senior class level managers in certain areas in politics, in the community, in the city, or in certain area and divisions that require administrative lead of superiority. And many of these people happen to be immigrants. And that's when change happens. That's when real change happens. When the community or the party you're standing with starts saying, let's do a proposition, let's do a bill, let's write a letter, let's do suggestions, let's take a survey, because you're taking in the community and providing them a voice. You're saying, let's break it down and send something to Washington, D.C., to the president, or let's write something down, send it to the city, send it through the state, send it through the state's legislator, so something changes in your state. But when you're a Democrat, when you're a liberal, when you're a Gen Z college student, and start protesting, when you start twerking on everybody, when you start rioting, when you start having posters and yelling day through night, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday afternoon on the corner of your street with a banner that says, "Make America free of Trump, Trump's a fascist, keep the illegal immigrants." That doesn't change anything. That makes you sound crazy. That's just you being loud and obnoxious. What you need to do is get it on paper, do a proposition to your state or county, do a bill for the White House, represent what you're talking for, and put your mouth and words and hands to work. Not to shout, not to scream, not to just say random balugany that you want to say out on the street, but to actually start making progress. Because a bill isn't going to happen if you're just shouting, keep the illegal immigrants. A bill changes when you propose it, when you use facts and statistics like we're doing on the show, when you start saying that the 11.7% point margin in 22 and 29-year-olds are leaving Democrats because that 11.7 percentage of 22 and 29-year-olds don't know how to do critical thinking or research or investigate or do handwriting work because they're lazy. Those are the people that are out there protesting to get their EBT and their food stamps back because they're the ones that are protesting day and night and can't get a job for anything to save their life and want to depend on the government that they so much hate. If you don't want to depend on the government, get a job. Get a job where you do your own work, where you go in 9 to 5, maybe different hours, but it's your money. It goes back into your pocket and you use it however you want. And you don't tell the government, hey, government, I need my food stamps or my EBT or else I'll die and I can't live if I don't depend on you. So it's insane. First, they bash the government because it's a conservative Republican president, and then they want the government to give them aid and support, and then they bash the government because it's not enough support, enough aid. So, why are you arguing with a government that's already giving you more than what you're fighting for, and you keep fighting for more because you don't know how to work? It's insane. The bottom line is that the youth is starting to recognize that the democratic government isn't using statistics, isn't being realistic, doesn't know what they're doing, just like Mondani did in New York. A democratic socialist country doesn't work here because we're a country that's only been around for less than 300 years. If what are we now? 250? A democratic socialist community and country forms because the government splits checks, takes away from the rich and gives to the poor. We're not Robin Hood, so we can't do that. And you want to tax the rich? Why don't we tax the poor? Here's my suggestion. I'm not saying let's take away all the poorest people money and let's force them to give us more or not, but if I tell a college student, go to school, get your degree, graduate, pass your classes, are you more likely to sleep in, or are you more likely to fail your class, or are you more likely to put in less effort if I just tell you that? 1 out of 10, most college students will say, yeah, I am more likely. So that's already what, 9 out of 10 of college students that say, yeah, I'm more likely to sleep in. Yeah, I'm more likely to ditch class and go do something else. Yeah, I'm more likely to be less motivated. But if I tell you the only option that have to get a job tomorrow, the only option that you have to buy a house, the only option to be financially stable in the next 2 years is if you pass every single class in college that you are taking, more than not, you're 9 out of 10 likely to put in more effort, to put in more work, to ditch out on parties and stay in studying. So if I tell the low income community, if you guys don't work hard, if you don't make minimum $6,000 a year, we're going to tax you at a higher rate than the middle class. Then the lower class is forced to go out there and look for better jobs. They're more likely to go out there and work more hours. They're more likely to go out and tell their wife or their husband or both, let's work more because I don't want to get taxed at the end of the year. So let's make more money and let's get out of that low income bracket. And you're forcing now the low income community to go out there and do more work, to go out there and help themselves financially. And now you're dropping the tax from low income to middle class. Of course, it's something that might not seem realistic, and you have to play around with it, and you have to juggle it with government and federal and state and city taxes, but it might work. A lot of people rather do that. A lot of people rather be middle class or homeless, but I don't see anybody enjoying lower class. It's insane. Then again, Gen Z believe that Trump could fix that issue when it comes to housing post graduating. A lot of people say, how are all these immigrants taking away my house? How are all these immigrants taking away a $2,000 monthly apartment when I graduated from college and I can barely afford it? It's not that they're taking it away, it's just that more of them are living in that same spot. 20 of them come into this country, 10 go out there every day, make $20 in one day. So that's already $200 in a day. And then they rotate. The next day, 10 of them go out, 10 of them stay in. The next day, 20 go out, 10 go in. And that's 20, 40, 2, 4, 6, 8. That's $1,000 a week from Monday through Friday. And that's what, 4 weeks? $1,000, $4,000. So now out of 20 people, they're making $4,000 and they're rotating. Some of them work one day, some of them don't. They're working less than 9 to 5 hours. So that's how they're doing it. They're stingy with it. Who did they learn that from? The Jews, of course. Jews have so many kids, and in Israel, in Jerusalem, the moment that they do their bar mitzvah, they start working, they start harvesting, they start having their animals, they start having all this, and then they move out, have more kids, and the kids help out. It's insane. But yeah, I don't lie about my facts. I tend to keep everything independent. I don't like having Republican, Democratic sided news channels. So at the Harvard magazine, they said, um, today, Corner is the president of the Republican Club at Harvard, notorious lately for its full-throated support of President Donald Trump. It shifted to a populist brand of conservatism that might come from the mouth of Vice President J.D. Vance and its increasingly prominent place on campus. When Corner was a freshman, he says the club might have drawn 20 to 30 people to an event featuring a conservative speaker. Now, such events can attract over 100 students. In a 2024 Crimson op ed, Michael Oft, 25, Corner's predecessor, declared that it has never been a better time to be a Republican on campus, and wrote that the club's mailing list has grown from 100 to over 800 during his tenure. Harvard, like many American universities, has long been seen as a bastion of liberalism. In its attacks on the university, the Trump administration has often pointed to a lack of ideological diversity on campus, a charge that even Harvard's own leadership has conceded, at least in part, by launching formal efforts to address it. So, Harvard is an interesting issue because Harvard is one of the most prestigious, one of the most amazing universities when it comes to education. Harvard is like the dream school for many. And not even Harvard has freedom of speech anymore. If you're not a liberal, if you're not a Democrat, if you don't agree with the left wing, you are not accepted on the Harvard community. And I say that because I went dark again. Oh no, the lighting is so weird. Um, Jeez, I need to find a better bar bracer. Can I drop the light, please? All of the lights, like Kanye said. How is it that I want to go to university, want to educate myself, want to grow my academics, but in a center for education where there is knowledge, where there's libraries, where there's professors who have studied their tenure to be in these positions, you don't allow freedom of speech. You don't allow me to speak publicly about any topic I want. You don't allow discussions or debates for certain topics about abortion, about liberalism, about capitalist, about why socialism doesn't work. Why would I go to university when I can't debate or discuss topics like this under the Trump administration or the Biden administration, or about women's freedom of speech, or about women's rights, or about black rights? Why would I want to go to university if the university is going to be a democratic setting or a liberal setting? Universities should be independent settings where students can argue and debate topics and have professors to have their back on certain topics. And I'm not saying the professors to say, oh, I agree with you or not, but to have the professors on site and help them find the truth and help them investigate and help them do research on certain topics. That's what a university should be for everybody to be able to come and discuss and debate openly and freely, to educate themselves and to learn more about these topics. Why would I go and waste my time in math or business 101 and the professor starts talking about oh, let's talk about why economy and business is so much worse under the Trump administration than the Biden administration. It shouldn't be like that. They should be able to teach you business without bringing in politics and tell you, let's talk about supply and demand. Let's talk about the GDP. Let's talk about scaling up a business, how to start a business, what is an LLC. Let's talk about that. And then let's talk about how we can get around the political side of business that affects small businesses and how we can take advantage of that using the tax codes written under Bill Clinton, a Democrat, so we can be just as rich as all his friends. But no, they don't do that. That's why today's topic was Gen Z, or Gen Z younger people from 18 to 22 are starting to make that conservative shift that was prone to happen any time now. Um, but yeah, it's been a long one. Baby boomers, millennials, Gen X, all of these people are still infiltrating younger Americans' minds with liberal and democratic ideas of being free, but freedom always comes at a cost. Freedom isn't free. So, with that, today's hot take was Gen Z being more conservative than ever. And like always, or I guess starting now on YouTube, I'll upload this and I'll make sure to provide the sources and everything on the bio. I guess that's it for today. Make sure you follow on Instagram at Freedom Uncensored. Make sure you follow on TikTok Freedom Uncensored and Twitter Freedom U/online. I think I'm missing one. Facebook now. Facebook is going to be on there too. And make sure to check out the website at Freedom Uncensored. My hair never got fixed. I could never fix it during the stream. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in to Freedom Uncensored. I'm your host, Jared Trinidad. And as always, make sure you follow, like, share, comment, and thanks.